You know Wayne Kurtz? I mean, he's welcome to be here.
Yeah.
I just don't know him.
He's a local guy.
Maybe he's interested in something new.
Get the Zoom link.
Here, I will pull up the meeting ID info right here. And so up top is their meeting ID, down below is your passcode. So you don't want to share your screen?
At some point.
Yeah, okay, great.
So it's.
Yep, totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
I hope Erin got some better weather for her Texas visitors. It's not gonna be like this the whole week, is that?
It's about,
I see.
Yeah.
Sunday looked good.
Ay, ay, ay. Sunday. That's a little far
I
off.
know.
Most of the rain is overnight, so they're. At least
Yeah, but
the
still,
sun might not come
if
out.
you're
till
from
5.
Texas, this is probably pretty grim. I know. All right, it's 6 o'clock. Welcome. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's back in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I don't think so. I think we'll just plow through it as it is. Conflicts of interest, anyone?
No.
The minutes of the last meeting, do people have a chance to look at those? Any comments or questions?
No.
No? Motion to approve?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's all 5 of us.
How about that, Judy?
Yeah, that was the 5th of May that we're talking about for sure, right? Because I have a couple of things floating around. That
I
was-
have not yet reviewed the town meeting minutes. so
Okay.
this
And then what
is-
about your special quick meeting that night?
Oh, yeah, we should also approve those.
Okay,
So move.
Second. All in favor?
thank you very
Aye.
much.
Okay, so that was May
13th.
May 5th and 13th.
Thank you.
All right, communications with the public. I had a number of communications the weekend, between when Bennett withdrew and the election. Lots of communications about that, but I don't think of anything else. Anybody else? No? All right, the warrant for the current expenditures that Irene sent us today. Did people have any questions?
Just out of my ignorance, I wasn't sure what the Monhegan and Thomason fault line refers to.
Oh, it says it's the
Oh,
senior.
it's on the rec department, that's their.
Senior trip cruise.
Got it. Okay, thanks. I was just curious. It wasn't a problem. And then I did have a general question, which was a general question, I mean, for you or Brandon, which is, what kind of interest are we getting on the 3 million on our total bank account?
Well, the interest rate has gone down. The bank did not drop our interest rate as much as the interest rate has gone down. I'd have to look to be certain. I think it's somewhere around 3.65.
Yeah, not for a bank account. Just wondering if
It's
we
just
need to
a
keep that
standard.
much in there, or could we take $1 million and invest it in something that's higher interest?
Well, sometimes
Not
we get
safely,
really
no.
low.
No, not
yeah.
safely, because
Yeah.
we've still got $710,000 that we need to get reimbursed from the Ten Cold Storage Road project. And we need to also keep in mind that there's the payment to the school are $500,000 a month.
Yeah,
And this will pay essentially our bills until September, when we begin to see revenue come in again, right? And so we will also have our county bill in the fall. And so,
I don't,
Keep it.
and legally, I don't think we can have our operating funds invested. I think they have to be basically in a checking account.
Mm.
Yeah,
I believe
but
that's
I think
right.
we have the option of where to put it.
you do, but anything that's gonna pay a higher interest rate, you're gonna be locking yourself in.
No, I
So that
totally
it's
understand.
not
keeping it.
available. And with that 710,000 being tied up with a Ten Cold Storage Road project right now. We're waiting for the federal reimbursement for that,
No,
and
Yeah,
I mean, the middle of August last year. We had less than $500,000 in the checking account.
okay, thank you.
okay, so we've signed off on that. Are there any public comments on anything other than what's on the agenda for tonight? No, okay. So for the regular session, we're required by law to have an organizational meeting within 7 days of the town meeting. So that tonight is our organizational meeting, and we will have some items that need attention tonight, but I'm proposing that things like electing the chair and vice chair and anything that isn't urgent, we defer till our June 16th meeting, when we'll have a new select board member sworn in.
And we can do that.
Yes, I think as long as we acknowledge, I mean, Van has graciously agreed to continue to serve until his successor is appointed. So I think we're okay with that if everybody agrees. Does that sound like a good plan?
Well, I haven't been replaced, so I might as well continue.
Well, we appreciate it.
Something like that with Van, where he wasn't voted back into the position, does he need to be appointed or does?
No,
Nothing
the law provides that his term continues until his successor is sworn in.
Great.
So, and especially since it's not past July 1st, I'm not sure what would
his
happen,
term goes till the end of May, actually,
but
not even,
even if,
Even if he met in June, it would be
Mhm.
okay for one
it
meeting.
probably would. But it does bring up a good point that is a little bizarre, is that
Yeah.
you don't finish out the year technically.
somebody takes your spot before
Yeah.
you're done.
Mhm.
But I did look that up and that's what it said, that until he should remain in office till a successor was sworn in. We do have some appointments that we need to make, so Brandon, if you would just, we're gonna wait and sign these at the end when we don't have people sitting here. But we should, list, among them are the assessor's agent, which is Jackie Bennett. The auditor, it's your advice that we stick with, Fred Brewer?
Right now, Fred is committed to at least doing our 2023 audit, and we have him scheduled to do so. And the bond was contingent on the 23 audit getting completed by the end of September. So I don't think now would be a good time to change our auditors, especially because he did come through and actually finish that audit on time. So for at least one more audit, yes, my advice is to stick with Fred.
But you're the one that's gonna be stuck with calling him every week until it's done.
That's right.
Okay.
Irene takes some turns as well.
Okay. And,
And just so folks, we signed a 2-year contract with Jackie as our assessor's agent anyway, so.
yeah, it just says in the law in the town charter that we have to do these annually, so even if. And the town attorney, we're gonna be reappointing Bill Kelly,
Correct.
right? And then rattle off what these other things are.
Town clerk, treasurer, road commissioner, records officer,
Many of these are Brandon.
purchasing agent, local health officer, addressing committee, which
Wait.
I can't serve.
Right, you don't live here.
Registrar of voters, deputy, assistant town manager, deputy clerk, treasurer, deputy, tax collector, deputy, registrar of voters, clerk assistant, treasurer, deputy, tax collector, deputy, registrar of voters, deputy, assistant, treasurer, deputy, and so on.
Basically, everybody has to
Uh,
be appointed?
Well, just about everybody has several positions in which they make up their job.
Right, but
And these are all the appointed positions, yes.
The ones that I read about in the law included the fire chief and the ambulance director, so, and they're in this pile too, right?
I assume so. I did not make it all the way to the bottom, but
There's the code enforcement officer. He doesn't live in town either.
tax collector, general assistance administrator, harbor master deputy, which there are 3 of, I believe. Dispatch advisory committee, our EMS chief, EMS deputy chief.
This is gonna be a marathon signing session.
Your recording secretary, your Parks and Rec director, your animal control officer, your fire chief, assistants. There are a few of your deputy fire chief, your emergency management director,
Impressive.
your fire chief, and your assistant emergency management director, as well as another dispatch advisory committee member. And the only member on our addressing committee.
All right, well, I'll move that we, appoint all these people to these roles.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor? Okay, that's
Aye.
fine. Thank you. We'll sign these later. Also, there are 3 select board policies that have to be approved today. Even though we will redo these when we have a new select board member. These are the means by which one select board member can come in to sign the payroll, payments to the state, and municipal education costs being dispersed prior to the meeting of the full board. So, does somebody want to move that we,
So moved.
Second.
okay, so we'll renew these 3 policies as of today. All in favor? That's
Aye.
fine. Okay, so I'll
My
change.
video is not working, so I'm having to hear with a blank stare.
Okay, well, I'll try and make it clear what's going on, but you can probably see us, right?
I can see you guys fine. My camera came up and I switched over to sign into the meeting and it went blank on me.
We've all had that happen.
Glad it works one way.
So, all of you will recall that fortunately for us, Brandon started, it'll be a year, July first. And we agreed when we did his interim performance evaluation last fall that we would do an annual performance appraisal of him prior to his anniversary date. And going forward, we'll just do it once a year. The town charter required that interim. So, I thought it probably made sense for us to do what we did last time before we have a new person on board, where we talk to each of the department heads and the committee chairs, for which were we liaisons. Does that make sense?
I told him he was fired.
So do people remember who they talked to last
Yeah,
time?
I do.
I think so, yeah.
I know I talked to Mike Smith and Amy, so it'll be Katie. And then I talked to you, Irene.
I talked to Tara and my committee chairs.
Yeah, so we'll,
I
We'll
talked
do-
to Beverly and Ray.
That
They
was
covered-
suggested I
that
get
was the
fired.
grandparents. Dan, do you remember the people that you talked to?
Yeah, it was, certainly the, Wareham liaison,
Yeah,
that much.
That's all.
Probably.
so
Brian
you'll
Ashley.
do,
Su-
Yeah, so
Su-
we-
Susie Ellis and Dan Morris,
who
And,
did,
Ashley.
okay, you talked to Ashley.
Yeah.
Who talked to Ryan Klein? You did, okay. All right, so will you be able to do that, Van, before you go off?
Yes, yeah.
And we'll,
I'm back on the 28th, so I can get that
Okay.
done.
we'll pick a time where we do an executive session, the review of the information we collect. Probably. Maybe. Should we try and do it on Monday, June 10th? That'll be,
June 10th on Monday.
That's a Tuesday.
10th is a Tuesday? Well, we don't have a meeting on the 9th, so I was thinking if we did that Monday,
On the 9th,
yeah.
I could do that.
I mean, it means talking to a lot of people by then. But,
But we don't have a meeting that day, no?
no, we meet on the 2nd and the 16th,
Right. I don't
so,
think you need to call a special meeting for it, do you?
no, but the 2nd, we have a lot going on with the tax guy coming.
We could do it on the 16th.
We could, although Van won't technically still be on.
Oh,
I can offer opinions prior to,
Well, I know, but executive session doesn't work if you have somebody present that's not a member of the select board.
yeah. It's true.
Right.
Just give you his.
Yeah, that's true.
comments.
You could give me your information.
That was what I was saying in essence.
Okay, I get it now.
That could work.
All right, well, let's do that then. We've certainly had enough meetings. We don't have to have extra meetings. So we'll plan to do that on the 16th then. Gives us a little more time too. All right, thank you, everybody. And if anybody wants to give feedback about Brandon's performance, feel free to get in touch with me. All right, and did people have a chance to look at the MCOG contract that I sent? Hopefully this total of $6,348 will actually be lower because for two reasons. One, we have Erin Dent working with this TIF ad hoc committee, and you know, the more work she does, the less Max Johnstone and the MCOG team have to do. And the other thing is that we get 16 hours a year of not free because it's included with our dues or whatever, but, and that resets on July 1st. So Max was gonna look into, you know, where things stand, because I think they also are providing some support to the Resilience Committee, but, so did people have questions about the contract? Oh, guess one thing I should say is that, we can pay for this out of the money that's raised by a TIF if it's approved, when it's approved by the voters. And the goal is to have it go to the voters in the winter, sometime this winter. And they are willing to not bill us until, you know, there's money coming in. So.
I move we recommend Brandon sign the contract.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's 5. He's got his camera working. You can just raise his
Yes,
hand.
I did.
Excellent. There's one other thing that's not on the agenda, but Aaron is applying for a grant for $1,000 from, I think it's from the Island Institute, to do presentations like the, you know, the ones we've done in the winter with the fishermen in January. And then we had the seaweed presentation from the woman from Maine Sea Grant. So we're hoping to have 4 different events like that in the coming year, and it would pay for pizza and drinks and, you know, materials and whatnot. So I just wanted to let you know that she's putting in for that, and, I've looked at the grant application. I know she's gonna send it to you if she hasn't already.
She did.
Okay, well, now we're at I thought we'd have just a first pass discussion. We've talked some in the past about, the possibility of having targeted philanthropic campaigns to raise money for things. Which is not a black and white issue, given that people pay taxes for stuff that the town does already. But the youth and scouting property, we have only $10,000 in the budget for fixing that up in the coming year.
For property maintenance, there's some money dedicated for, you know, adult recreation, so if there was, you know, equipment for the property that needed to be purchased, or, you know, things that were supporting adult recreation, there's money for that. So a little
Some
more than-
extra.
Yeah,
But I'm curious what people think about the possibility to have a campaign where we'd pick a dollar amount, or maybe not even pick, just say, if people want to contribute to try and fix that up more quickly than on our budget cycle. What do people think?
Guess I have mixed feelings about it, you know, since we pay taxes and if we budget for it, we can do it. That being said, if there was some mild, gentle way to give money, I don't think I would be upset about that.
Well, we could potentially call it a kickoff campaign with the idea that the town will, as it goes forward, look to putting monies aside for additional things. But because it's not in the budget this year that we've moved with, we need something to get it going.
Well, except it is in the budget for this
Well-
year, just not very much.
Well, a nominal amount, and we know it's going to take more to fix it up. And
Right.
so it would be very nice if we could had the monies to really get going on fixing it up, so it could be put to use as soon as possible.
I do think, and I think maybe Brian mentioned this, that there's potential for volunteer work on that building, and we have skilled people in our community who would, I think, would step forward and work on it. I don't mean that'll take care of everything, and I'm not opposed to raising all the money we can for it, but I think we should keep in mind using volunteer labor.
Well,
We
well,
need-
you could probably then say that the money's being used for the basic equipment and supplies needed, and the volunteers would try and do beyond that.
What do you think, Tammy?
I was wondering where people gave so much money before to have the building built and everything, how they're gonna feel about, well, now we need to come back again and do this all over again.
Well, but even, how old is that building?
And the money paid for the roof, right? That original, pot
I
of
think
money.
back when they built a building, I think they got grants and things, but I think they did, Tim and John did a lot of fundraising.
Oh,
to
okay.
build-
They did. I think it was a different audience for sure. It was folks that were involved in scouting programs, you know, and so now I would say that it is opened up to a much broader audience. And so I agree, let's not keep hitting the same people for trying to support this
I'm
project.
sure people will wanna donate and help.
I think so.
Brian, what are your thoughts?
I'm mixed on it, I guess, but I think that there's some money out there for materials. I know the youth partnership has some, and we're planning on talking about that at a meeting soon. I think volunteers are a way to get a lot of work done. That's how the building was built, so.
Yeah. I don't think you insult people by asking. It's worth a try.
Well, I mean, look at the makerspace. For goodness sake, you know, people gave over $4 million and the school is a taxpayer enterprise.
Are there any particular rules that govern us as a municipality about raising money?
I don't know. We'd have to figure that out.
I'm not familiar with any.
Well, so do people feel like we should look into that and,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think.
yeah,
we
it's
should rule
worthwhile
out-
to look into
I can
it.
sort of picture a thermometer, you know, but.
yeah, right. I mean,
There's some amount we wanna raise for, say, for materials, and it doesn't need to be any $4 million.
no, right. But I just think people are excited. I mean, I'm excited that the voters agreed to do it and the sooner the bathrooms are working and things can be happening in there, the better. It's kind of that time of year when you could get some enthusiasm going. All right, well, we'll look into any restrictions on raising money and maybe what some other communities have done like that. The comprehensive plan update. So the thinking was because we have Steve Sullivan coming from the state on June 2nd, and I think there'll probably be a lot of people, and we are gonna meet upstairs that night, our next meeting, to accommodate the public, that hopefully, by going through these changes that have happened on the comprehensive plan since the workshop we had 2 weeks ago, hopefully then on June 2nd, it would be a real quick approval. So Bill, if you want to share your screen and tell people what's changed since we all got together about this last.
Thanks, Jane. I'm getting there.
Presentation view. There you go.
That's good.
That'll work.
Yep.
So since we were together, since we shared a couple of weeks ago, we have run across 6 items and actually 5 items that change the responsibilities found in the comprehensive plan as it relates to the select board. And so the first item that we wanted to share is twofold. We wanted to highlight the AI transparency, and so we put in a paragraph of that we used AI in the development of the comprehensive plan, but that it's been thoroughly reviewed by multiple people and should ensure its accuracy. That really doesn't relate to the select board. The second side, which is the living document, there's 2 things in there. First, in the living document, we described how the process works of implementing and using this document throughout the next 10 years. It is built into the plan. It's already there, but we spelled it out to put it in there so everyone knows. And then the second part is required by the state to be in the comprehensive plan, and that is an implementation plan. Well, so what we basically did was say how the implementation, you talked about Brandon's review, that's all part of this. So it's just spelling out how the cycle will work. Introducing a transparency for the document. 2, how the document will be used, and 3, the accountability.
So normally, in the summer or soon after the town meeting, we discuss our select board priorities for the coming year. And the idea in this highlighted paragraph in yellow, if you can read it, is that, we would be looking at the comprehensive plan and figuring out which of the things in there we want to take on in the coming year for our priorities. And that it's our job to make sure that the committees know what their responsibilities are for accomplishing things that are in the comprehensive plan. Because otherwise, we all know what would happen. This would be like a notebook on a shelf or a file in a computer that nobody looks at. And this is the way to keep driving what the community has told us they want the town to be working on in the coming decade and make that happen. So do people have any questions or issues with that? Okay, Bill.
So the second one is this strategy we reviewed and talked about. And since we met, we added artificial intelligence into this section. So that's in monitoring and consider implementing technological advances that assist with town initiatives, including artificial intelligence. Including artificial intelligence was not in this policy before, or strategy before.
So Brandon and I have talked about the fact that we need an AI policy for the town. And last week, Bill Batty went to a Maine Municipal Association program about that. And so we will be working on that. But given how much this is likely to affect our lives in the coming decade, it made sense to include it in here. And it's a daunting challenge, but we have a number of people in town who can help us, advise us. And fortunately, Bill on the staff, so that's good. Any questions about that? No?
No,
All right.
just a comment that AI makes me very uneasy because of the pitfalls that are potentially there. The problems with it.
I think that's why we wanted to ensure
No,
that it was, yes,
yeah.
for that very reason, but Steve, yeah.
I get it.
Well, and in government, I mean, in every aspect of our lives,
Yeah.
but obviously in government, having things be true and reliable is really important.
This is a really easy one. This is more cleanup and editing on our part. There were 2 policies. There was a policy 783. It said the same thing, except it was communities. So we took communities, added it to the list of support folks that are listed in the policy, and then brought these 2 policies that were included in 7A-3 into 7A-2.
So this is regional coordination with other towns?
Yes,
Okay,
on the economic
On
side. So really,
economic.
we included regional communities in the town. So we just combined all 3 into the line. We didn't change any strategy.
anybody have any questions? No? All right, and you remember that we talked about, oh, you're gonna do this first and then the growth areas?
No,
Okay,
I'm gonna try to share a different map.
so after we met, Aaron and Bill and Leticia went back and redrew the growth area maps. Follow parcels,
That had road frontage along 73, and then again in Fort Clyde, through road frontage on the north side to reach up to the fire station.
so those changes were made in those maps. So that's the Route 73 growth area. No, yeah,
Yep.
up there in orange.
And you can see the recommendations of taking it out to the borders. 173.
That's the Tenants Harbor in yellow. And that goes over to where Mr. Fields is doing his subdivision. And then Port Clyde is blue, and that little sort of panhandle is the fire station,
Parcels leading up to it, yes.
yeah. Did people have any questions about these changes?
Basically following property lines that exist.
Right,
Correct.
well, and making some changes that were suggested by the select
Yeah,
board
like
last
this,
time.
like the fire station.
All right, anything else?
Reminds me of the eye test. You know, like, Can you read that?
Shocked I've gotten this far. These were narratives that the state required for us to put into the plan, rural areas and critical natural resource narrative. So that's what we did. We added them in the rural areas. It's basically everything on the peninsula that's not in a growth area or not in a special shore zoning, any of the other areas that are already, that would supersede anything that would be in a rural area.
And that was, again, a discussion that we had here, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And then we just defined the rural areas and the critical natural resources are just spelled out what the zones are that supersede the rural areas and the growth areas.
okay. So as you can tell, Erin has been the one that has tracked very carefully what the state requires. So things like defining what your rural areas are, what your critical natural resources areas are, all of that. And she and Leticia have worked on the maps, so that we're in compliance with all of these requirements. Any people have any questions or changes? All right then, well, I think you've got the select board's consensus that you're ready to go. And then on June 3rd, which is next Tuesday, right? Or 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah.
June 3rd, we'll have an informational meeting for the public to come and learn all about the comprehensive plan. So tomorrow we'll have Bill Batty post a news, it's already on the calendar, a little news blurb. And the draft comprehensive plan. So we'll be approving it here on June 2nd. There'll be the informational meeting on June 3rd. Then it's gonna go to the state for their review. And then they may have questions or whatever. And then in the fall, we would have a public meeting about it, a public hearing, and then a vote. Sometime in the fall, we'd have to have a special town meeting to get it approved. So that's the time frame. All right, guys, thank you for coming
Thank you.
and for all the hard work everybody's done on that.
Yeah, that's amazing, the amount of work. in it.
It is staggering. I mean, I laugh now at the lies I told when I recruited people to serve on that committee. Oh, it's not gonna be that much work. We're gonna have a consultant. They have worked so hard. It's unbelievable. We're very fortunate.
So I hope you feel good about it. You really put something together there.
It was a really nice, great team. I think, when was it? Just 2 weeks ago, as we were walking out from a late night meeting here and said, it's amazing. We all still are talking to one another.
Well, barely, but you know.
Well, and it's been great to have people from the fishing community, somebody who works at the school, you know, a real diverse group, but Leticia with her GIS, you know, mapping, census data, perspectives. Bill worked for the Island Institute, you know, so a lot of, strong players there. So thank you. Update on the Port Clyde Landing grand opening. You want to talk about that, or you want me to talk about that?
Go for it.
All right, so it's gonna happen on Thursday, June 12th at 6 o'clock, of course, at the landing. Is it gonna be paved by then?
Paving is scheduled for the 27th, so,
Of May?
yes.
Yeah, because there was a typo. It said June in one of your emails, and I thought, uh-oh, it's not gonna be paved. But,
For paving.
okay.
I said June, yeah, no, May 27th.
so, I notified the governor, both of our senators, Shelley Pingree, our state representatives, and invited them to come.
Penny and Ann,
Yes,
right?
we'll see who comes. I didn't tell Steve Betts or any other media people. Do you want to do that?
Yes, I have.
That Jules, what's her name at the Bangor Daily News? She likes to come down here.
I need to get back to her anyway about it.
There's gonna be food and music.
Yeah. Live music, maybe a blues band.
And I did, let Jessie Thompson know so that she can be sure to be prepared for a crowd. I let Veronica know so that do you know if Lexi's food truck is gonna be open? Veronica didn't respond to my email about that.
I believe so. I know the barn just opened up. I believe the food truck will be open by June 12th, but I follow up with Lexi.
All right. So hopefully it'll be decent weather. We are gonna have to figure out parking, Brandon, because
We've
obviously,
got 47 new spots.
yeah, but we can't. If we're gonna go party there, you just named 47 people. Right, sorry.
We're close.
No, I think you need to do something, because otherwise it could be chaos. And Thursday night is when the barn has all the away people.
Right,
So
I mean,
there's-
it's early still, but
no, but people come at 4 to go to the barn. So all those parking spaces are taken.
Well, we can certainly have people park at the fire station and,
shuttle and
yeah, maybe.
carpool down.
With the beach.
But I did, I don't remember if it was all those people like Senator King and everybody. They have forms where if you want to invite them to something, you have to fill out a form. And somebody said, where are you supposed to park? And I said they were gonna have to talk to you.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
because we gotta make sure if some of those people come, we gotta arrange for where they're gonna park. Then we can all park at Larry's, right? And related to the grand opening, Dale Pearson is planting trees and shrubs this week down there. Cool. Which is very exciting. Veronica has some picnic tables that last year she told me she would give us, but now she would give them to us for $500 each. We'll see. They're the
Plastic ones.
yeah, like similar to the ones that are at the lighthouse.
So technically, the 2 tables that are in Bowie Park were purchased for the landing.
Okay,
And then they were like, well, we should put them somewhere in the meantime. And so I don't know how often they get used there or if they do,
I've never seen anybody there.
and so.
Well, St. George
On-
Days,
And on Halloween night,
Oh,
they're
Halloween,
used,
yeah.
yeah.
when there's
But I mean,
parades and stuff,
I
yeah.
feel like they could be used.
It's what they were
Yeah.
purchased for.
Yeah.
so.
Well, we can go look at the ones Veronica has and see, because I have some of those Adirondack chairs that were made of that stuff, and they're 22 years old, and they're still great.
Lasts forever.
So they do last a lot longer than, wooden ones, but,
Absolutely.
all right, well, we'll go look at those. So put that on your calendars, June 12th at 6 o'clock. Ryan Klein's gonna be cooking out of the back of his truck, he claims.
Yep.
We'll see. How much does he think he can cook? Is he gonna have helpers?
I don't know.
I thought we had the fire department helping.
He better get
I
somebody
think,
helping.
I think you and Ryan have two different expectations for how many people will attend.
Well, that may be true.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen after the ribbon is cut or whatever? I mean, are there gonna be speeches made or, I mean.
Well, it depends on who comes.
There'll be the music anyway.
Right, I mean, mostly I think it'll be a party, but Dan Morris wants to say a few things, which is great. We should thank everybody who's involved. It's been 10 years, a ton of work. But I don't envision long speeches by anybody.
Yeah, and Steve, could you check that we could coordinate with the band and use their sound system for some of these things?
I can check on that, yep.
Yes,
Okay,
that was
thank you.
another question Governor Mills or somebody had on their thing, was there gonna be a microphone? And I said
Janet
yes.
loves
so-
to come down to St.
I,
George.
right, I think she probably will come if she can, but. All right. How come everything, I'm the one talking about everything here. So the next thing is this email that I circulated, about whether this is advocacy work by the select board. Would we be willing to sign, that we support continued funding for coastal zone management grants, which are on the chopping block in the federal budget. And it was a grant like
Everything
this,
else.
right, it was a grant like this that paid for the Sebago Technics work. So that was, why Meg Rasmussen sent this to me and said we might want to do this. And I think it's a good idea to say we think.
I'm
this
gonna
fund-
say, if Meg recommended it, I think we should support it.
What do other people think?
I agree. Doesn't cost us anything
Yeah,
to support it.
Yeah, it's fine to support it.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that you authorize me to send a letter to these people.
Seconded,
All in favor? That's everybody, okay? Special election update.
As folks are aware, we are having a special election for the open select board seat. It will be on June 10th. One candidate, Brian, has already turned in his papers. Ryan has taken them out and started collecting signatures. I don't believe you've turned them in yet. Is that
I'm sitting on them.
right? And other than that, we've not had anybody take out papers, so
And they're due back Friday.
they are due back. It is posted on the website.
That's
so
where I got that idea.
Then that is correct.
To be a party pooper, but that's Oceanside High School's graduation night.
Well, it's just the papers have to
Oh,
be
okay,
in.
okay.
So, yeah,
You can turn them in now.
It's not an event.
No,
Yeah.
it's not an event.
If I can get 3 signatures, I'll turn mine in.
All
Great.
right, we can do that. I'm in favor of people running for things.
otherwise, yeah, not much to update there. Any questions on that process?
The only thing I would say is that, again, the person who's elected will learn of it on the website either late that night or the next morning. And then they should come in and be sworn in by you, because, at the town meeting, Steve was sworn in and Christine Fallon was sworn in, but there won't be something like that. So you should come in and get sworn in on the 11th. And then Van will officially be stepping down.
ta-da.
We already had cake celebrating your service.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you again, Wendy.
If you'd hear, you'd get a scone.
Right.
Oh, oh.
So committee reports, planning board.
The planning board met on May 12th. There were 2 seasonal piers discussed. One on Treasure Point Road
Okay.
and, there's gonna be a site visit on the 28th. And the harbor master will look at the plans, and so that's still pending. There's a seasonal dock being applied for on Atlantic Quarry Road. And it's probably gonna stay less than 7 months, so the rule is if the seasonal dock is in place for less than 7 months, the code enforcement officer can approve the application without going in front of the planning board. So that's just something I learned. I didn't know that. So anyway, that's the planning board.
Well, I have a question.
Yep.
That house on C Street where there's a major event happening, what is that?
Well,
Did they, I don't remember hearing when
It-
that was.
it might just have a building permit, which goes through Terry.
Okay.
It might not require a site assessment, and the site assessments are the ones that go through the planning board. So that's a long way to say, I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen it when I'm at the post office, but I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know, because it's around the corner for
Yeah.
me. When you're at the post office in the parking lot, you can
Yeah.
look and see this old house that's there. Used to have a big red barn that they've torn down.
Yeah.
And now there's this
Captain Gilchrist house.
major construction project happening there.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, it has not come before the planning board since I've been on the select
So it
board.
must be.
So, I mean, it could predate that, because then I think you have 2 years to begin your project once.
One of my sources told me, I mean, it's a big post and beam barn, and they brought all the pieces in all notched and ready to put together. It's like Lego
that's-
set, you know?
That's what they're gonna
And,
put.
and then it was going to be residential, not a barn for cows or horses. It'll be like living space in there.
Mhm.
That's what my source told me.
Your source.
I assumed as much,
Heard it on the street.
because that lot has a lot of views of the water, but not from the old house. So. And what's the status of the subdivision guy?
It's still pending, I think, let me look at my notes, I mean, they came back in. I believe the application is not yet complete because there's still the fire pond issue, and whether they're gonna have a storage tank, so that's still pending.
Board of Appeals, nothing.
Nothing.
The Harbor Committee hasn't met, have they? No. The Budget Committee has not met. Cemetery Committee.
They met on May 7th. I was unable to attend the meeting because I did the webinar on assessing for 2.5 hours. But I did receive their minutes, if you want to hear tidbits from their minutes.
Well, update us on what's happening with the flag holders. Cause I've seen, since I get copies of some of this
Let's
stuff.
see. They discussed that and they have found some alternatives that are less expensive. They were looking at the bronze flag holders, which were $50 a piece. So they found something that's less expensive. And they will be able to use the current flags that we purchase now to fit in those, so they're putting together a proposal for that, and Bill Sophie is gonna come back next month and talk about that. They had a general discussion about the Memorial Day festivities. And Dawn talked to the Historical Society about coming on Saturdays. On Saturday, once a month through the summer to do, gravestone cleanings at Seaside.
Before you move on, what are the Memorial Day, plans?
It didn't, it just says they're discussing
The
Memorial.
Legion
Day.
is having a pancake breakfast that starts at 7 o'clock. and
The
goes-
Masons.
The Masons, and it goes till 9. And the parade starts at 9. If you're in the parade, which you all are, Lineup is beginning at, we all are, is
You don't
beginning
get.
at 8:30.
8:30, and where are we supposed to be?
Up by the church,
Like Baptist church.
So,
and then immediately following the parade will be the ceremony down at the Legion Hall.
so some members of the select board have concerns about riding in the truck. Do people want to share those
I will
concerns?
share. First of all, I think it's somewhat dangerous to be in the back of a dump truck. I think the symbolism is not great for us, especially currently right now. I think the
A lot of
dump
folks
truck,
in town grew up riding in the back of trucks. I think it's great symbolism.
legal or pickup trucks, not dump
Usually I'm a
trucks.
stickler for legal stuff, but not this, not about this.
Okay, so the dump truck probably has been used to like haul dead animals, like dead deer, shrubs, trash. I'm not gonna be there, compost, yes.
Compost is a big one.
Yes,
He
so,
was giving it, he's taking it very seriously. It's gonna wash, he's putting carpet down in the back for y'all so that you don't slip
Okay.
around.
if there's an accident and I get ejected, I will haunt you all forever, that's all I'm saying.
See ya, see ya.
All right, but as long as we're there at 8:30, he'll have a cherry picker or whatever to pick. 'em up.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to have some kind of like bobcat or something to launch us up into it.
You could ride in the front, Wendy, if you want.
Okay,
if you
all
want.
right. Yes. Suckers.
Right, well, I should have spoken up sooner. I thought that you were riding in the cab with Steve driving.
I can walk or ride in the back or either one.
Whatever.
I'm gonna practice my queen wave like this.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be.
Well, Wendy has some of the decoration stuff. I gave her the stuff that I had, and she also ordered red umbrellas.
Red and white umbrellas, red and
So
white
that
striped
We have red
umbrellas.
and white theme for
Yeah.
St. George, of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, the other thing I was thinking about is it's somewhat of a solemn occasion, so I didn't want it
Right.
to be like too frivolous.
Right.
like, You know, people dancing or something, so, yes.
All right, well, sorry, I interrupted the cemetery
We do
report.
that.
There you go.
I just sidetracked you because you mentioned Memorial Day and it isn't on the agenda anywhere, which it probably should have been.
They're working on the GIS mapping. I guess Randy had found a map from a previous survey they'd done, so they're gonna start working to update that. They discussed the plot fees. They're gonna revisit that. And let's see.
So Brandon mentioned to me that maybe they didn't fully understand how the budget process works and that the money that's set aside for the cemetery.
That was discussed.
So you straighten them
still-
out about
Well,
that.
they still think that maintenance should be done by the town, like some of the avenues need gravel. And they still think that the town should have to pay for that. They did.
They are the town.
Everything in the budget is the town. They are the town. They're a town committee.
So they requested the $10,000.
They did, that's right.
Right, that is the town supporting maintenance. So I think, Tammy, that could be a helpful piece of education the next time you're at that committee, that they are not separate from the town. And so,
They're a committee of this board and every nickel that's in the cemetery budget is for the cemetery, whether it's gravel or GIS mapping or anything, it all comes out of that same budget.
I think what they're really trying to say is that they want it to come from a different department, like from
They want it to
our,
be separate of their
Right.
little
Works or
budget, of the
something.
money
Right.
that they have, they wanna do what they wanna do.
right, they
with
want
it.
it out of our roads and property maintenance budget, I'm sure.
But that's not gonna happen.
No.
The way the budget is developed,
Right, okay.
it's in departments for a reason, so we can keep track
I'll
of
make
it.
sure they know you got your
Okay.
money, that's it.
And also, they don't get, I mean,
That's right, that's it.
it's important for them to keep in mind that they're an advisory committee and they'll be bringing their suggestions of how money should be spent to the select board. And then, you know, we'll either do it or
And if
not do
that,
it.
that maintenance costs more than they thought it was the 10,000, they can come back next year. and
Right.
Ask for
Right.
additional funds to help take care of the trees and maintain the avenues.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's hard because this committee just got going again and they're just learning how this works, but. So I appreciate your keeping them
Yep.
in the.
I'll straighten them out.
All right, Emergency Services Committee has not met since we last met. The TIF committee did meet, Van.
Well, you know, the TIF committee spent time again trying to determine what would be appropriate properties to designate for the TIF districts. Stu Rich was kind enough to have worked up one possibility or among several. Brandon now has informed us that 25% of the area must be associated with economic development. I think I have that right.
Yeah, has to be
What's that?
capable. Has to be capable of being developed.
Yes, yeah, and so that's part of then the thoughts. You know, we're talking about the Eastern Muscle Ridge property being included for that very reason. The Port Clyde General Store area and that whole area down there could be perhaps designated. But really, we're coming back to again another meeting to see if we can hammer this out. So again, it's an ongoing process as we're learning.
Right, we really need Jackie's help, I think.
Well, and part of it was what, you know, what properties are the ones that are apt to show the biggest change in assessment. And Jane, you were going to be seeing if you could talk to Jackie and see if we could get her into a meeting with us.
Right, so if you can find out if she's available, because they will change their next meeting date if she cannot be there. I mean, I think this was the third meeting of this committee, and the committee has been thinking that the way they should tackle this is identify properties that are gonna jump in valuation the most so that you capture and keep the most tax dollars in St. George to spend on projects. So we were looking at properties that are, you know, high value properties where there likely is never gonna be commercial development. It's just gonna be residential. But, the guy from MCOG was saying, you know, the whole purpose of this tax program is economic development, and especially for promoting the program to the public, that it would be important to tie it into properties that where you want to spend the money, now, even though they may not be properties that are gonna have a big jump in value. So if, for example, you know, we wanted to do improvements on sidewalks and crosswalks and, you know, the Port Clyde Landing and things in the village of Tenants Harbor, that even though you're not gonna have as big a jump as some house, you know, on Hart's Neck or somewhere on a cliff, that we should make sure we have properties like that in the districts. So that's been the complicated balance, and
Well, I think part of that too is that we don't have at least I missed the last
you
meeting.
know,
So, going back 2 meetings, we didn't have a very narrow list of projects yet.
well, that, one of the things that's complicated is that the MCOG consultants, we've had 2 different people come just because they take turns. The other towns where they've done TIF districts, what's driving it is like in Warren, there's a solar farm, so they're doing it for that reason. Or in Brooks, I forget what the, you know, the projects were that were the reasons for it. In our town, it's totally different. We saw the opportunity of keeping more money locally because we know where waterfront properties are gonna jump with this revaluation. And so there's this opportunity to keep money and spend it on things we wanna do, but we don't have a list of things other than we know we're gonna need to do infrastructure, you know, for sea level rise and this and that, the Port Clyde Landing, different projects, but so it's been a little, we've kind of bumbled around a little more than we might have. I think partly because we don't have projects that are like high on our list in the next 5 years.
Oh, I
And
think we're all thinking about things that might be done, and it'll come together in time.
Right,
The other part of our discussions, of course, was the public perceptions we're dealing with associated with the project and how to best approach educating the public about this. And, you know, in terms of it's an abatement in terms of what we pay for the county and the state.
right.
And we benefit from just saying, we designate these properties and, we can, reap some money that way. So
Well,
Well,
anyway,
and that's where I think my opinion differs from whoever the representative from
I
MCOT
know it
was.
does.
I think that that's gonna be an easier sell to voters is we're keeping as much money in town as possible, rather than projects that are linked to specific properties like the mussel farm or
Right.
the general store or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the logic of that, and that's why we had gone that route. But I think it is a sort of a philosophical, strategic difference from these other communities that they've done TIF programs for, and, it's been really fun having Jason Ludwig on the committee because, you know, he is focused on how, you know, we want to make sure people understand what this is for and why it's a good idea, and it should be an easy sell, but then people get misinformation and they go down some path that's
It's not an easy concept, the program itself, so.
right. So anyway, we're gonna continue those discussions, but we need Jackie, otherwise we're gonna spin our wheels.
What was the next meeting date?
May 28th at 6.
Yeah.
But if she can't be there, it'll be when she can attend. So the comprehensive plan committee, you've got their report. Conservation commission, there's none of that, all right. Shellfish committee,
I meet tomorrow night at 5:30 in the morning.
okay. Solid waste,
They meet Wednesday morning at 7:30 AM here in the town office.
all right,
Long day for you.
all right. Parks and Rec,
again, they had a meeting when, corresponding to when we were meeting, and so I have not been able to keep up with what
oh, then we'll
that's
get
happening.
Ryan's
But I
report,
have, but we have somebody in the audience who can explain.
that's right,
Right. Basically right now it's May. We usually don't even meet in May, but we did this year. We're knee deep in baseball. We're getting ready for St. George Days. I think we've got the 5K up on the site, same site as last year for registration. That's really, I think we've been talking about bringing back the summer camps, but we're not finding any instructors, so that may or may not happen. But that was pretty much the last meeting.
Mhm.
So if you know anybody that wants to run a camp for a week, Bob Ashley.
What kind of camp?
The rec camp that we're talking about this year, we've always done targeted camps, they're all on one subject for a week, and last year, I think we had 3 kids sign up, so we had to cancel them, and this year, we are trying just a general rec camp. We can be a different activity every day, maybe 2 a day, with different instructors, so you might go hiking, you might play basketball. But if we need, we need 2 people to oversee it all week, and then we'll have instructors do each.
And how many hours in the day?
I think normally it was 6. I don't know for sure what we're looking at this year, but it's on the fence right now.
They still do the soccer camp in the summertime? Is that part of the rec?
To work with the pitch. We used to do a summer camp ourselves, but we also do the pitch comes down at the end of August and does a week with us.
Right.
They're just using our field though, it's separate, it's not a Parks and Rec program.
Oh, it's not a part.
Right, no, we do the same one for it, but the pitch runs it.
Resilience Committee, I see they have a lot of meetings on the calendar.
Yeah, well, the resiliency committee has been, of course, trying to look at finalizing who's going to do the contract for the engineering at Port Clyde. And the $75,000 project. And we've met and went through a comprehensive review of the 4 applicants and have reduced it to 2. And next week, we will be meeting with them. Actually, it's this Friday. We are interviewing Sebago Techniques and Fuss and O'Neill in terms of trying to select between them who would be the awarded the contract. And that's been the basis of what we've been up to.
Has the committee communicated that out to the folks that submitted bids?
Committee was assigned the people who were going to call to let others know that they weren't under consideration. Or would be interviewed at least, let's put it that way.
And just because I saw there were so many Resilience Committee meetings on the calendar, and with the transition of Van going off the select board, Wendy will be doing liaison to the Resilience Committee next year, so you two will be
Well,
figuring out,
indeed, Wendy was at the meeting,
okay, so just.
this last meeting.
Yes, no, I wasn't meeting. I think Brandon is supposed to call the 2 engineering firms.
Oh, you're correct. Thank you, Wendy.
Yes, yes. So, but Susie is
Just finding
gonna,
that out. now.
Susie's, yeah, well, Susie's gonna talk to you about it because they wanted to do it in a polite way. Yes.
Official.
Yes, an official way.
Yeah, well, and this is why even though for other committees, we'll figure out who's gonna be liaison next year. After we have a new select board member, I didn't wanna wait with the Resilience Committee because I know they do such substantive work and a lot of stuff is happening right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So if you two can just make sure you cover those or Brandon
Yeah.
while they're doing all
Yeah, I'm
this.
gonna go on the 28th to the Zoom interviews as much as I can. I also have planning board site visit at the same time, so I may skip that in order to go to the interviews.
And how about the Scholarship Committee?
Oh,
We
geez.
have not met.
Well, isn't it almost the end of the school year? What's happening there? Who calls the group together?
I've been trying, but the
last committee.
I have not,
You better mute yourself, Dan.
I've not heard back from folks besides Wendy and Jess McGreevy. And Jess McGreevy, she's the principal who is gonna replace Mike Felton on the committee this year. But she's not yet officially a committee member, so.
But who else is on there?
Well, are there any applications pending?
There are.
Uh-oh.
A lot.
Oh, really?
More
Uh-oh.
than usual.
Yeah,
Usually we only get 3, maybe 4.
Well, maybe you and I should just meet and decide. I don't know.
and with at least Jess, I would feel fine about that process, but
Yeah, all right.
if
Yeah,
this
Jess,
board
she's great.
Well,
signs off on that.
is it? I'm not really clear that it's a town committee, is it?
I
don't think it
haven't
is.
checked the charter or anything.
No, it's not in the charter. It's,
Then I would say it's not a town committee.
right, so. I just wanna make sure that whoever thinks. That there's a shared understanding of who's making decisions. I mean, obviously, at least one person from the school is logical.
Mhm.
Has Josh McPhail served on that in the past?
We have somebody from the school.
No, I know, but I'm just wondering if more than one makes sense. You think one is enough?
I thought he did, but he's now off, I thought. I mean, he's on a bunch of scholarship committees. He's
Okay.
probably a little overloaded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine with me, I just know the timing of this is pressed. So whatever you need to do to make it happen, I'm in favor of
Great.
that.
Good.
Is everybody else in agreement of that?
I think I was treating it like, I thought it was an official town committee, and I think some of the folks that are on there, they didn't do anything last year, so it's been a couple of years, and some have health issues, and so. If we don't need to get new committee members appointed, and we can. if we're-
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go ahead, but if there are people that are expecting to be included, somebody should communicate with them.
Well, I will, and I have reached out to folks, so.
I don't
Is there
know.
one generic application for all the different scholarships that
No.
no? There's a different application for
Because
each
they're different.
scholarship.
And Irene will attend the meeting as well, because she
Okay.
knows all
You
the
know how much
bylaws
each-
for it,
Okay,
what's paid out, and so I
Okay.
feel confident between the four of us making a decision that.
okay.
All right. Well, I know last year was a failed attempt, so we're gonna do better this year.
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any other business for tonight
Oh, one piece. the-
besides signing our names 42 times?
Other signatures though are for the innkeeper licenses. These came in today.
I think we have to, vote on those. In the past, we have.
Okay, then it is for, we have them for the Ocean House. Seaside. East Wind. And Long Cove Cottages. Mill Pond House. And that is it. We did not yet receive one for, the Craigmere.
Did we already do it? Kind of seems like.
It seems like we did it, and we had that discussion about whether it's been 5 years and.
Right,
Some
that's
of the
right.
process
That one
applies.
for the innkeeper license?
No, that was a liquor
Oh, maybe liquor license.
But I thought you told us the state did the liquor licenses. And that we don't. do.
No, I said that about Monhegan asking for a retail license
Oh, okay.
as opposed to an on-site.
All right, so, all in favor of us doing these, innkeeper licenses that Brandon just listed?
We have to vote on it, or we just-
We did in the past,
Oh, okay, I move we approve them.
okay, second. All in favor? That's 5, okay. We haven't had any issues with any of these people.
Nope.
Right. All right, well then, if that's it, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye now.
Bye, babe.
Well, now we have to sign our.